Hello students, in the last class you have studied the social organization in ants. Well, in this class, in this video, you are going to study about social organization in another one insect which is very familiar to all, that is termites. Well, termites, all of you have seen these termites, so it's very common in human habitation, and it is also very common in forest. So we commonly in say Kannada we say it as ಗೆದ್ದಲು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, right? So these termites are commonly known as white ants. So white is called white ant because of their body coloration, and if you observe, if you notice their body morphology, it's almost look like an ant which have white color. That's why we call it as termites, we call it as white ants. Well, they belong to the class insecta because they are all insects, right? And order Isoptera, and they are widely distributed in almost everywhere except in polar regions, that means in the cold condition, that is in tropical, subtropical, temperate regions of the world. So these termites are very small, and they have, of course, they have very soft body. If you observe, or if you touch these termites, you can feel that they don't have any hard covering. Of course, their thoracic region have the cuticle layer, but still they have very soft body, and their main food source is cellulose. You may have seen that, say, usually whenever in your home, whenever you see the damages in any wood furnitures, that's just because of these termites, because these wood furnitures or would have cellulose, and this is the cellulose is the main food source for termites. Okay. So they are very social organisms, that means social in the sense they live in, they have many groups in their own population, which perform their different functions, and they live together. So that's why we call it as a social animal. And they're polymorphic insects. Polymorphic means all insects or all the caste which is present in the termites, they don't have same morphology. That means within one population of termites, different morphological features can be found. That's why we call it as a polymorphic insect, and which have two pairs of wings. Okay. So they are usually light in color. As you can see here, they don't have very bright color, they just have light body coloration, and body coloration, right? So what's the role of these termites? Termites, they are the good decomposers of dead wood, and they aid in agriculture by enriching the soil with their fecal matter, by making the soil permeable to air and moisture. So the role of this insect is they actually decompose the dead and decay any wood which is present in the forest area. Plus the fecal matters, say one colony may have 10 to 15,000 members. So these insects, whereas they release the fecal matter that gives nutrients to the soil. So this is the importance of the termite in nature. Even though they have importance in nature, still it is harmful to human beings because it damages wood. So wood is the basic source for construction of um, you know any kind of buildings or furnitures. Making furnitures, we use wood, and because of these termites, the furnitures may damage, right? So that is the harmful effect for human beings. Okay, what is the social? Now let's see, that is so in the previous slides we have just known that the importance of termites are the basic characters of termites. Now let's see how they socially live. Termites, they actually have two castes. So you have already studied in ants and bees, so they have different castes, right, or different groups. Similarly, even in case of white ant, means in the termites, they have two castes, or they present in two forms. So one group, say in the colony, we can be divide these termites into two groups or two forms. So one is fertile or reproductive caste or forms, and another one is sterile or sterile caste. Okay, based upon their sterility and reproductivity, we divide whole colony of the termites into two groups. One is reproductive caste and sterile caste. As the name indicates, so sterile means they can't reproduce, whereas the reproductive forms, they involve in the process of reproduction, so that they helps in replication or increasing the population in the colony. Okay, so first one is reproductive or fertile forms. So this is one group of termites in the large colony. So these reproductive forms are divided into again three types, or we can see three groups of population in the reproductive forms. So one is Macropteris or winged forms, Brachypteris forms, Apteris forms or wingless forms. So these are the three types of fertile groups or reproductive groups in termites. Let's see. So this is the whole colony picture of termites. Okay, so I will along with the explanation, I will tell you the characteristic features of these termites. Okay, so first one is the Macropteris or winged forms. As the name itself it says, these are normal winged male and female forming true kings and queen in the colony. So if you remember, say in case of in case of honeybees, where you will find male and female. So one, the female which is much more dominative and which is fertile in nature, called as a queen, and the male which is involved in reproduction called as a drone, right? Whereas here we call it as male and female, which are fertile in nature, we call it as a Macropteris or winged forms. Okay, so these are Macropteris or female and male which are fertile in nature, and these are called as a king and queen. These are called as a king and queen. Right, so males and females leave the nest at maturity and lead the brief aerial life and shed their wings. Then they become together in pairs and mate. So usually what happens is, why they called as these king and queens are called as a winged forms, because in the termites, not all the termites will, for all the reproductive forms, will have wings. Only kings and queens, they have wings. Okay, so that's the reason they are actually called as a winged forms, and these wings are much more longer, and you can clearly see their wing structure. Okay, what happens is, I may have seen that usually during rainy season, what happens, these king and queens which are present in the different nest, they start to fly over from their nest, and that is actually called as a nuptial flight, where all male female forms a colony, or they keep together and they mate. So after that they shed their wings. Okay, so then after mating, say they select a proper place for new nest formation. So after the reproduction, they select the place, say where they start the nest. Okay, and each pair is related king and queen, which is also called as a primal royal pair. They have stems of shed wings. They are monogamous. So what happens, say these king and queen, after the reproduction, when they select the nest for starting a new life as a termite colony, so these are king and queen called as a primary royal pair, because even though there are other subordinate or supplementary king and queens are also present, these are the more dominant pairs. Okay, and they are monogamous in nature. Monogamous means they remain together. Um, I mean, they don't reproduce with other male or female during the season. They remain together, so which is, we call it as monogamous. Polygamous means, say if a single male, if it mate with multiple female or vice versa, then we say it as polygamous. Okay, if it is if a male or a female have say a single partner, we say it as a monogamous, or mate with a single partner called as a monogamous. So the king and queen are all permanently they associated, they won't separate. That's why they are called as a primary royal pair. Okay, so you may have seen this. Say ಯೂಶಲಿ ಮಳೆಗಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳು ಹಾರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾರುತ್ತೆ ಇದ್ದಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾಗೆ ಬೆಳಕು ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನು ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಅದರ ಚಿಟ್ಟೆಗಳು ಕಾಣೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಶೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು ನೋಡ್ತೀರಲ್ವ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ, so after pairing what happens, they shed their wings, and these wings are very delicate. So these wings are very delicate. That's why we can see their wings during daytime, so after the reproduction. Okay, so that is all about Macropteris forms. And as you can see here, so this is actually royal queen. So at first the queen, so if you see the picture of a queen and male and royal queen and king, so you can see the morphology. So here queen, if you observe, the head and thoracic region of the king and queen is same size, whereas the abdomen size is much more uh, larger than the queen, king. You can notice here, so this is king and this is queen. So where the abdomen size in the queen is much more bigger. Why it happens? Say simple, say before what do you say, during the reproduction or during the nuptial flight, queen, they don't have such a huge abdomen. Okay, suppose if they had such huge abdomen, it is impossible to fly in the air, right? So these inflammation of the abdomen happens in queen only after the reproduction and after egg deposition. Okay, egg deposition ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ವೀನಿಗೆ ಈ ಥರ ಅಬ್ಡೊಮೆನ್ ಸ್ವೆಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Why it happens so? Because so the main work of the queen after the reproduction is just to lay eggs. So queen egg deposition ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. egg deposition ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಬ್ಡೋಮನಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಫ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡೆಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋದಂಗೂ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಬ್ಡೋಮನ್ ಸೈಜು ಇರೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಅಂದರೆ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ಗೆ ಅದರ ಆಬ್ಡೋಮನ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಏನಿತ್ತು ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ 2 ಪಟ್ಟು ಸೈಜ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಚ್ ಅ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಆಬ್ಡೋಮೆನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್. ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸಿರೋದು ಯಾವುದೇ ಹುಳ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಾಗಿ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕ್ವೀನ್ನ ಆಬ್ಡೋಮೆನ್. ಇದು ಇಷ್ಟು ಕಾಣಿಸೋದು ಆಬ್ಡೋಮೆನ್. ಸೊ ಇದು ಬಿಫೋರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್, ಯಾವಾಗಂದ್ರೆ ಎಗ್ ಡಿಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆದಾದಮೇಲೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಅದರ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಗೇನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಬ್ಡೋಮೆನ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾಯಿಂಟಿಗೆ ಕ್ವೀನಿಗೆ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಸೊ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅವು ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ವೀನ್ನ ಕೇರ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, and this is another one picture. So this is again queen, and this is white. This is actually a fat deposited in queen, and all these are other members. And as you can see here, why we say it as a white hand, because see, if you see their body structure, it is whitish in color, and if you observe, almost their body look like a ant. Next, Brachypteris are short winged forms. So these are sexually mature males and females, but they are nymphal in appearance. Okay, of course the difference, there is no difference between the Macropteris. I mean, if you say the gender, say both are male and females which are fertile. Okay, but the difference is here they are short winged forms, whereas in the winged Macropteris they have long wing. They are completely, we can say it as a winged form. Here they have wings, but they have very short size. Okay, often they are also called as supplementary or neotenic kings or queens. Why they call it as a supplementary queens or kings, because see, suppose if the royal pair, means royal king and queen, if they died in the colony, so in order to regulate the population of the termite colony, so these supplementary king and queen, they will take the responsibility of royal king and queen. That's why they called as supplementary queen and king. Okay. See, remember one thing: they perform, or they they manage the colony as a king and queen only if the colony lost or lose royal king and queen. Then only they perform their work. Otherwise, they just remain as a supplementary king and queen. So they don't have any kind of responsibilities. Okay. So compared to Macropteris, these worms are little bit smaller, plus they have very much shorter wings. Of course, they have wings, but it's very much reduced. Okay, even the size also, body size also small. So next one is the Apteris or wingless forms. Of course, the name as it says, wingless forms. That means they don't have any wings. So these are found in lower termites only. That means the primitive species in termites where you can find these group. Okay, they have both and female and males. Of course, if it is belongs to reproductive caste, means they are fertile in nature, and it includes both male and female. And they have no wings cuticle, and they are colorless. So cuticle is colorless, means the thoracic region coloration is there is no coloration, and they don't have any wing, right? Plus they are blind. Of course, you know that termites are blind. Why they are blind? It's very simple. See, if you notice termite nest, it's very dark, right? It's very dark, where you couldn't find a small light. So even though they have eye structure, they perform their function in a dark condition. So that's why they are completely blind. Okay, so termites are blind forms, blind creature, because they live in dark condition. If they have light, so what happens in the nest if they have a light? See, usually termites, they need more moist condition. Suppose if they have light, the temperature may differ, and the moist condition, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಗೆದ್ಲು ಗೂಡಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ತಣ್ಣಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ನೀವು ಗೆದ್ಲು ಗೂಡನ್ನು ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ತುಂಬ, ಅಂದರೆ ಗೆದ್ಲು ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಮಣ್ಣು ಹಸಿಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ತುಂಬ ತಣ್ಣಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಮಣ್ಣು. ನೀವು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ಗೂ ಟರ್ಮೈಟ್ ನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಒಳಗಿರೋ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ಗೂ ತುಂಬ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಕೂಲಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಲೈಟ್ ಇದು ಬಿದ್ದರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಡ್ರೈ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಟರ್ಮೈಟ್ ನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ ವೇರಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ದೇರ್ ಐ ಇಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಲೆಸ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್. Okay, and they are also known as ergotoid king and queens. Okay, so ergotoid king and queens are nothing but wingless or Apteris forms. Not all the termite species have this group. Okay, so next is sterile forms. So sterile forms, as the name itself says, these are only meant for other work other than reproduction. They perform different works other than reproduction. So that includes again two groups, workers and soldiers. Okay, so workers, these are smallest in size. They have compound eye, so the compound eye and ocelli are absent, because as I already told, they are blind creatures. So even though they have eye, compound eye ocelli, but still it is functionless. With exception of reproduction and defense, they perform all duties of the colony. So with exception of function means, of course they can't reproduce, and that's why they can't involve in the replication of population. Plus they won't involve in defense. Name as it says, worker, they meant for working. And what are the kind of work they do? Okay, so one is they're looking after, like honeybees, they look after eggs and finding food, making nest, feeding for young larvae. Sorry, larvae spelling. Okay, young larva. Okay, young larva. Um, and even culturing of, you may heard about fungal garden. Fungal garden. Fungal garden. So have you heard fungal garden? Fungal garden is very common in termites. ನೀವು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇವನ್ ಇನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಟರ್ಮೈಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದರ ನೆಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಲೀಫನ್ನು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನು ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ. ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡೋದಂದರೆ ಲೀಫನ್ನು ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದು ನೆಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಯ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್, these leaves they start to decompose, and these after decomposition, say because of the moist condition, these decomposed leaves, they develop a kind of a fungus, and these fungus will be they use as a food for feeding in larvas. Okay, so all these stuffs will be done by workers. Okay, so that's all about the functions of workers. So this is a image which actually showing image of a worker which is actually involving constructing the termite nest. So ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯೂಶಲಿ ಟರ್ಮೈಟ್ ನೆಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಟರ್ಮೈಟ್ ನೆಸ್ಟನ್ನ ಹೊಡೆದಾಗ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತವಲ್ಲ ಸಣ್ಣದಾಗಿ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ವೈಟ್ ಕಲರ್ ಏನಿದೆಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಯಂಗ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್. ಪೇಲ್ ಕಲರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಲೈಟ್ ಕಲರ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಯಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಓಕೆ, and this is one picture is actually clearly you can see here. So this is the queen and this is worker. So here, so at one point what happens, the queen, the royal queen, is start to increase his body weight and gains more and more fat. At one point she can't move, so that the worker will take all the responsibilities of queen. Workers, they carry food and they feed even for queen. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕ್ವೀನಿಗೆ ಅದರ ಬಾಯಿಗೆ ಫುಡ್ ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ, ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಬಾಡಿ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದರದ್ದು ಕ್ವೀನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಪ್ಲಸ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋರ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಕ್ವೀನ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಕ್ವೀನ್ is actually controls whole colony. So in order to come with the other members, queen uses workers as a kind of a communicator. So queen usually what she do, they actually communicate with workers that how much members are here in the in the colony, is there any lack of members. Okay, all these stuffs are is whether the queen is aged. Okay, so all these stuffs will be detected by the worker. Okay, you can clearly say that workers are kind of caretakers for even for their mother and father. Okay, and as you can see here, this is one kind of a species of termite which is actually you can see here, say they actually carrying young larvae, sorry, young termites. Okay, and they taking care of their termites, other members. So the last one is soldier. These are Apterus males and females with no sex organs. They have less numerous in the colony than workers. So the population of the soldier is very less, but they're male and females which are sterile, like workers. So workers are also sterile, male, female. Similarly, soldiers are also sterile, male and female. So the population of the workers compared to soldiers is less than worker, because they only meant for protection. The soldier has large dark colored chitinous head and big mandibles. The color of the body is very pale. So there are two types of soldiers are there. One is mandibulate soldiers and another one is nasuit soldiers. So mandibular soldiers, they usually have powerful mandible, okay, so but no rostrum. But no rostrum, okay, frontal rostrum. So leave it means mandible is nothing but it's a part of mouth which is actually used by insects folding food and even for the defense. It's like it looks like horn, okay, so that is we call it as a mandible. So rostrum means say it's a head portion, hard portion ಇರುತ್ತೆ, hard part head ಅಲ್ಲಿ anterior tip ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದನ್ನು rostrum ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. Some soldiers they don't have this rostrum, frontal rostrum. Frontal means front rostrum, okay. Some soldiers they don't have these structures, that's why, but they have large mandible, that's why we call it as a mandibulate soldiers. Whereas Nasut soldiers, they have small mandibles with median frontal on the head region, okay, here on the head region. So simple, mandible small irutte, rostrum ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ medium size, okay, and the main function of these soldiers are they helps in defense, okay. So as you can see here, say, so these are the mandible portion, you see here. So this is a worker which is modified. Worker have the mandible, the structure will be like this, whereas soldiers the structure is here like this, okay. And as you can see here, so this is the soldier which is before say complete development, when it is in the nymph stage, means nymph means adult ತರನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಆದರೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆರ್ಗನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇವನ್ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅದು ಯಂಗ್ ಇನ್ಸೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದರೆ ನಿಂಫ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ರಿಸಂಬಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಡಲ್ಟ್ ಥರನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಕಲರು ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಬಲ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿದೆಯಾ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೀ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗೋ ಮುಂಚೆ, ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ರಿಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂಫ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಲಾರ್ವಾ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ರೈಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆದಾಗ ವಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ, ಓಕೆ. ಸಾರಿ ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್, ಓಕೆ, ವರ್ಕರ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ತೋರಿಸಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಲಾರ್ವಾ ವರ್ಕರ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ ನಿಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಸಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿಂಗ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಗೂ ನೋಡಿ ಏನು ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್, ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕ್ವೀನ್ಗೂ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿ, ಓಕೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ಹಿಯರ್ ನಸೂಸ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಬುಲೇಟ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್. ಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಬುಲೇಟ್ ಸೋಲ್ಜರ್ ರೋಸ್ಟ್ರಮ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕಳೆದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ರೋಸ್ಟ್ರಮ್, ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಇದು ಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಬುಲೇಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಹಾರ್ನ್ ರೀತಿ ಎರಡಿದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾಂಡಿಬುಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಇರೋದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಸೂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಲಿಟ್ಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ರೋಸ್ಟ್ರಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ವೆರಾಸ್ ಹಿಯರ್ it was very much reduced, but they have large mandible, right? So that is all about social organization in termites. And in social organization termites, all the members are they perform or they have their own duties. Fertile forms they only involve in reproduction, whereas sterile forms they involve in protection and even for remaining works like feeding, collection of food, construction of the nest, and taking care of queen and other members. That will be done by all these members. So this is how they live together, even though they have 10 to 15,000 members. All the members they will not perform same function. They carry different functions and they have their own responsibilities, and they carry in a very organized manner, okay. So by that we can say that even a small insect, that is this termite, they live social life as human beings, okay. Means by this we can say that not only humans or mammals are well evolved or they have social life, even a small insects they live together, okay. So that's all about today's class. Thank you.